Good evening and salutations, my Jade fans. Okay, let's talk about the scene between Spinelli and Carly. Now, after John finished, drinking some champagne and celebrating his soon-to-be victory, Carly just sitting there giving them a stink eye the entire time. Spinelli comes in, and Carly is upset. She feels super guilt-ridden and everything. And she's like, you know what, listen, I want to go and turn myself in. I'm not going to have Jason, you know, have to sit there and deal with this guy any longer. Spinelli's like, this is a bad idea. Because number one, he spent 2 years sitting there protecting you. Don't let that sacrifice go, don't let that 2 years go for nothing. That's number one. Now, number two, and this is actually very important because number two, I have issues with it. I have issues with it. Because there's a point where Carly's like, you know, he spent 2 years away from his children, and um, now it's like, hey, listen, um, you had, he wanted to make sure that you were there for your kids, and Carly was like, my kids aren't more, you know what I'm saying? Like, what makes my kids more important than his kids? Which is a very valid reason, right? But Spinelli's thing is, well, when Jason went away, and this is something that Jason used, which I'm just going to sit there and say is straight up bullshit. When Jason was like, hey, listen, even though I left my kids, they were in the hands of two good mothers. Jason, did Carly's kids not actually have fathers? Jax, Sonny. Now, I'm not saying Sonny is the best father in the world or whatever, and yeah, obviously, there's some rocky roads right there. But they don't know really so much about the mental decline until recently. So that whole I'm gonna sit there and go to make sure that Carly's kids is safe with their mother is BS. It's literally garbage right there. But she agrees. But she's like, I'm gonna sit there and find a way to try to get John or whatever. I'm not gonna implicate myself. I'm gonna sit there and find a way to get John or whatever. And I'm just like, okay, so Carly's is just going to make it worse. You see in the previews, she's in Pentonville talking to Mr. Jack Brennan. So, you know, typical classic Carly. Now, let's talk about Molly and TJ, right? TJ did something that's very hard for most people to do. Is to admit when they're wrong. He apologized. He's like, listen, I've been handling this very piss poorly. I've been coming at you sideways. I've been guilting you and making it seem like you strong arm me into this whole thing, and I was just a part of it. And for that, I was wrong, and I apologize. Great, great, great stuff, right? Up until a point where he's like, she's a good surrogate. Because I'm just like, bro, she is not a good candidate for you. She was a mistake from jump. But other than that, okay, fine. And Molly apologizes for keeping stuff from her. Molly's fear is that, there's a good chance that when that baby comes in, that Christina could decide to keep the child. And there's just really nothing they can actually do about it. Now, Christina, Blaze, and Natalia and Sunny all decide to have dinner. Well, Christina comes in with garlic as a present for some odd reason. And I mean, it's not really so much about the present. It's just about, trying to rebuild that relationship. I get it. I just think it's kind of an odd gift, but whatever. Um, Blaze comes in and Natalia comes in. Sonny's talking about he's going to cook or whatever. So eventually, they all agree to have dinner. And, they're hanging out, and Natalia's just telling embarrassing stories of Blaze's childhood and everything. And Ava comes in. And Ava, for some odd reason, decides to invite her ass to a table that nobody nobody invited her to. So she's like, well, I'm a little kind of peckish, whatever. Maybe I'll sit there and, pull up a chair or whatever. It was like, excuse me? Now, granted, even when she walked in and she started trying to invite herself, everyone just kind of stood there like, Ava, you got social security, right? Like, what are you doing? Because, like, this ain't a good look. Even if Christina didn't really sit there and say anything, it was still, that silence spoke volumes. But Christina was like, yeah, no, that's not gonna happen. And she was like, you ratted out my mom, and yada yada yada. My mom lost her license because of you, and this, that, and the third, which is not true. Alexis lost her own license, busting up there lying. But that's beside the point in this scenario. Point is, she's like, I'm not having dinner with you. I'm not sitting and sharing bread and breaking bread with somebody who I feel is the enemy. And they was like, listen, tell Sonny and everyone. It was like, listen, I'll tell you the unbiased version at home. So Christina tells him about all of it. She's the one that did it. She did it out of spite. It's the reason why she lost her license and everything. And then Natalia's fake ass. There's one point. I think they said something that was a little almost kind of like sexual innuendo. And you could just feel, and it just was a comment between Blaze and Christina. I don't exactly remember what it was. But you just felt the tension with Natalia. But towards the end, Natalia was like, "No, you was very brave. You stood up to your mom. I applaud you and stuff like that." And I was like, "Oh, okay, okay, all right." Like just completely, utterly fake, and you're just looking at it, just like, God damn, woman. No, I don't mean that in a good way. Um, Now Finn, he's pissed. He's like, "Yo, where's my daughter?" And Tracy's like, "Yeah, she's not here, and you're not gonna sit there and see her until you go to rehab." And Finn is upset. He's yelling and he's like, "I'm gonna call the cops." And Tracy was like, "Okay. Did you not sit there and see the picture I just showed you? You sure you want to sit there and do that? Sure you want to go that route?" And long story short, she's like, "I made your arrangements. You go to rehab. This isn't about you. This is about Violet." She pretty much just kind of gives tough love and just kind of walks off. Now, it takes, Violet a while to kind of calm down or whatever because, she wants to make sure that her dad's okay. And, you know, Lois is there helping, Brooklyn, Chase, even Yuri's there. Um, and so at some point, Chase calls Diane, is like, what are our options? Like Ben, he's spiraling. And, we need to sit there and make sure that Violet's okay. So Diane gives them some advice. And Tracy comes over and Tracy's like, yeah, we need to sit there and follow a restraining order. Because we're pretty much at like DEFCON 4 at this point. Um, and then, towards the end, you see Finn, just sad and upset. And, it's heartbreaking. It's really heartbreaking because this is one of those things where it's like, if you hit rock bottom and you don't have any kids or whatever, you know, you it's about you getting out of the hole for a year. And you can take as long or as little time that you want to sit there and go that route. But when you have somebody else that is depending on you, that is not an option. And it's one of those things where it's like, it's heartbreaking when you can't get clean for yourself. It's 1,000 times more heartbreaking when you can't sit there and do that for your kids. Because if you can't do that for your kids, you're, I can't say it, but it starts with the letter F. So that's the heartbreaking part. Now, let's see. I think that's about it. I think that's the general. Yeah, I think that's about it. That's the general gist of the episode. I might have missed out on one or two things, but that's the overall gist of the episode. Now, if I missed anything, either write it down in the comment section below what I missed, or better yet, come to the live stream tonight, 8 p.m. Eastern, 5 p.m. Pacific. We'll sit there and talk about all the shows. General Hospital, Days of Our Lives, Born the Beautiful, and Young and the Restless. And with that being said, I'm going to go. I will see you in the next video.